drain dry. I'm so sorry. If you have a milkshake, and I have a milkshake, and I have a straw, there it is. That's a straw, you see. Watching. And my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!
Don't bully me, Daniel!
Frog Blast Event Core! Ah! Oh, goodness. What is up? Happy Sunday, everybody. Oh, goodness. It is warm today, if you can't tell by my glistening 5-head. Oh, did we establish on whether or not I have a 5-head last time? Let's establish that. No, I don't. More like 3. Problem is my fingers are huge. But, what is up? Hopefully everybody's having a good one. The day is warm, to say the least. So I'll be drinking a lot of water. Spoiler warning. Because how hot is it today? I went outside around noon and it was really warm. It's 88 degrees out, but it feels like 92. So it's right now it's as hot as it's going to get. So it's thankfully going to cool down, but it's going to be like stupid hot today and tomorrow. So luckily today and tomorrow are what I usually call my days off. Well, not tomorrow and Tuesday are my days off, quote unquote, but I took one of them yesterday because what ended up happening was there was a power outage in the neighborhood. So, because for some reason they decided to do repairs in the middle of the fucking day on a Saturday. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Power companies make no sense to me. But, so it was balls humid in my fucking apartment. So I literally just filled up my bathtub with water and just sat in there and watched a stream on my mobile data, you know. So yeah, that was a thing. But yeah, it's supposed to be hot here in Illinois until it's gonna rain on Wednesday, and then cool off a little bit, get hot again on Thursday, and it's gonna rain again on Friday, and then it's gonna finally cool off. and then it goes back down to like more tolerable temperatures after that as summer wraps up. So needless to say, I'm not looking forward to the warmer days because I live in the second story of a 2-story apartment building, so it gets warm up here, you know. And there's not as much airflow in this apartment as there is in my old one at the front of the building. Because I've lived in this building for like 10 years. So, saving a baby squirrel right now. We'll take good care of them. Ugh. But yeah, I got a long day ahead of me today as well. Because after this stream, I got to go record the weekly podcasts. And then after that, I've got some stuff I'm going to get done. I've been needing to do a hard drive wipe on my laptop that I've been putting off for a while. That I'm going to go ahead and do to clean it up and install the programs that I think it needs. But I haven't like touched my laptop in like 4 months. So, and it's getting old too. That's why I don't use it for streaming anymore. It used to be that my laptop would sit right here, right in front of me, and I would have my laptop here, and then my gaming PC, the big PC here, and then my switch that I use to switch the monitor input would be for the laptop to whatever, you know. So yeah. Anyway, Gunpla. So last we left our robot was coming along quite nicely. Basically, what's left to do on him is there is piping that needs to be right here alongside the waist armor. And there, oh, you can't see it because of the arm. Let me move the arm out. Whoop. So right there, hip armor needs to be put in place. There's piping that is supposed to go over it as well. The same on the opposite side. And then, of course, he needs his backpack. And then after that, we're going to do the weapons. So I don't know how much we're going to get done today. FBI called, want your laptop, what do I do? I'd give it to him because there's nothing on it. At one point, this is kind of a funny story. Somebody on Kiwi Farms got really mad at me about something. I don't even know. And said something to the tune of, I hope the FBI seizes his computers. And I said, all they're going to find on it is video games, comic book scripts, and comic book art. Like, why the fuck would the FBI... Like, dude, just because you don't like me on the internet does not mean that I'm some sort of criminal. Stop being stupid. Oh, goodness. But then again, that's kind of a constant thing on the internet, I've realized. People get, like, angry at people that they don't even know. Like, that they've never actually, like, had, like, a true conversation with. It's very strange to me. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shut the door. And let me go ahead and bring my chair over. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Because what I have over here is different parts. Plus, oh, I moved the camera a little far. Let me move this back over just a smidgen. There we go. That's better. What I have in front of me is the parts to that side armor, plus the whatchamacallit, plus the backpack. We're gonna paint these today, But the priority is going to be, we're just going to get the hip armor done first. And then we're going to do the piping for it. And then we'll start painting the backpack. So, probably not going to get a lot done today because we don't have a whole lot of time. But that's just kind of unfortunate. Because yesterday when I called the stream off, like already my sleep schedule was kind of fucked. And I was just trying to readjust it to get it back to normal. And then what happened was that power outage came along. So, and then after that, we had... Well, I don't think there was anything after that. Then I just went to bed. But, you know, it's just one of those things where yesterday wasn't going to work out anyway. But anywho. So what we need to do for this is we're going to have a couple of gold parts, a couple of normal red parts, a couple of blood red parts for the color separation. And overall, it's going to look very, very slick, I think. Because so far, this blood red tone has really been just this awesome way of color separating, you know, everything out. And I'm glad that we used the white primer for it, because it really lets the color pop. It makes it a shade brighter. Because I have a feeling that if I used like a gray primer for it or a black one, the red would be so goddamn dark it wouldn't color separate very well. So Sinanju has a complex backpack. It's actually not that bad. You know, it's really not. Then again, I've already assembled part of it. Let me switch that. Sleep, what's that? Yeah, exactly, Shadow. Like, it's not something I'm used to, trust me. But yeah, the backpack's not too bad. This is one of the thrusters. The cool thing about it is that there's internal mechanics on it, so that you can pull these tabs down and up, and then the thrusters pop out. So nothing too crazy. It's basically the exact same as the other one, as the Sinanju Stein. The only difference is that it's, you know, all Xeoned up, you know. Okay, so I've got this turned off. Let me crank it back on. We're going to run a little airbrush cleaner through it to make sure that it's going to spray properly. And it is, so that's good to go. So we can go ahead and get started. Got cool stuff to announce, by the by. So, I know a good amount of you are subscribed to the Almighty Lolly's channel. So, how many of you saw the trailer for Cyberpop? And if you did, are you excited? Hype is real? Good. I am hyped as well. I think that one thing I have to say is I'm always very I always feel very good about having a good working relationship. Kit Bashit with a high new. That would be interesting. I might do something like that someday. But anyway, just speaking as an editor, I'm always somebody who is very careful with the what is being put in front of me. And I'm very pleased that Lolly trusts me to help him with this project of his to make it a reality. Because to be honest, like, he is, and Cyberpop in general has been this real shot in the arm for Grindstone behind the scenes. And I've told them about this before, but I'll say it to you guys. You know, we had a rough start as a company. Human Shield was the first book that we put on crowdfunding to promote. To try and get funded. It did not fund, sadly. Which was a big time bummer. But, you know, so that just leaves a rocky start for the company. Obviously, I feel bad for the writer of that, too. I know that it's a big passion project of his to try to get it done. And we're still going to try to make it happen at some point in the future. But, is there going to be orders for Cyberpop soon? Yes. The launch date of the campaign is September the 7th. So mark that on your calendar. September 7th. I will be on stream with Lolly to go over the campaign and what is in it. And then we are going to hang out for a few hours. The plan is to for us to play Space Marine together. Space Marine 2, because that the Gold Edition comes out early, and I picked that up already. So I will be playing, that weekend I will be Space Marining it up. Yeah, Gunny, it was a bummer. But, you know, the big thing right now is that we're going to try to build up the superhero stuff on the Grindstone end again, and then we'll try Human Shield again in the future, once we build up some more hype for it and, you know, get people more acquainted with Octavius as a writer. I feel like that was a part of kind of what worked against us, is people don't really know Octavius that well. They know the other people, because you guys know Xavier, you know Optimus, you know Mike, you know Serena. You obviously know me. But Octavius, kind of a guy in the background. We gotta get him out there more. We gotta get him talking to people. We gotta get him doing stuff, you know? And, hopefully next time we will have a lot more success with it. Because in between now and then, we have the St. Peregrine crossover. I'm trying to get the next Peregrine book off the ground. But we got to get Scott McCullough moving on that. But he's a pretty busy dude, so it's not easy. But, But that is another book that is planned as well, that's superhero-oriented. And then Project Lazarus is another one that I'm really wanting to get rolling on as well. Because Lazarus is my baby as a comic book. Like, that one, nothing against any other comic I'm working on, but Lazarus has a big piece of myself in it. And for anyone who has read my novella, some of you already have the digital edition. You know, you can tell that there's a lot of passion put into that. And one thing that I will also mention is I am in the process of actually going a little further with American Monsters. I'm recording an audiobook. Just a first pass at it to kind of see how it reads, you know. But I figured, you know, it's a novella. There's no reason not to, there's no reason not to do it. It's not like you could really do audiobooks that like with whatchamacallits, like with comic books. So why not? Why not just spread the wings and fly, proverbially speaking. But it'd be something that we put up on Audible and, you know, go from there. The other thing that we're going to start doing as well, once Inglewood Book 2 gets put out on, or gets fulfilled, we're going to start listing comic books on Amazon as well for people to purchase. So that if people don't want to, you know, if we're in between crowdfunds on a specific book, but you still want to get your hands on it, you know, it won't be the same as the crowdfunded edition, but it'll still be the same story. Because the one thing that I will admit is that though we do plan on doing things for the collector's market, ultimately we're not necessarily looking to emphasize our business purely on the collector's market. The point is to emphasize specifically on the reader, on the constant reader. I feel like that's something that the manga industry does a lot better than the comic book industry does. And I think that that's going to be something that is a big part of our business going forward. You know, I'm of the opinion that one thing that should be understood is that, you know, there's some things about American comics that I think are superior to manga. More than anything, like the use of color. And the other issue I have with manga is that it's so decompressed, whereas, you know, Western comic books don't necessarily have that problem. At least not as badly as manga, because like I have a problem with decompression in you know, Western comics. I fucking hate it. That's part of the reason I was very turned off to Brian Michael Bendis as his career went on. But manga, it's worse. It is way, way worse. And I don't like that. I like to have a full meal once a month with a comic book, you know? I want a fucking steak. I don't want cotton candy. I don't want anything like that, which is something that I would criticize manga for. I feel like manga gives me a lot of cotton candy. It doesn't give me a lot of steak. Am I going to build the HG Dragon? Nah, Kelly or Edison. I don't plan on it. I don't like building high grades. I have such big hands that it's not really comfortable to do. And I just like the additional detail of a master grade here. and all the stuff I can do with it. So I don't know what's on P Bandai right now, but I would probably go for any master grades that they have up there before I would go for the Dragon Gundam. I love G Gundam, but it's just, you know, that scale of model is just not something I like to build. But if other people are high grade fans, I will say it looks good for that grade, you know. In fact, like, all the high-grade G Gundam stuff that they put on P Bandai, because before this they did the Gundam Rose and the Gundam Maxter, those looked really good. Like, for a high grade, they kind of looked almost as good as like a real grade, but, you know, no inner frame. So because what is even on P Bandai right now? I haven't looked at it in a while, because I haven't been able to afford anything. Let me flick that off for a second. Let me open up a web browser, and I'm just kind of curious. P Bandai. Let's see what they got under model kits. Franchises, Gundam. Whoa! My chair just dipped on me. I'm gonna have to get up and reset it. Stop doing that! Available items, category, model kits. Okay, so there we go. Dragon Gundam sold out on pre-order. Damn. So they got a bunch of Gundam F90 shit. I don't really care about any of that. They brought up the Marasai Unicorn version. They brought up the Zeta Plus Unicorn version. What else do they have here? Oh, they still have the White Dingo, and they've got a bunch of stuff from Advance of Titans. That's the sort of stuff I would go after before I would do anything with like the Dragon Gundam, honestly. Because that, I have a shelf set up specifically for, whatchamacallit, specifically for Titan suits, but there's only 2 suits on it. Just my Mark II and my whatchamacallit, my Mark II and my Marasai. Do you know that mean weird guy? I think your sentence got screwed up there, Leo. Is trying to explain something about... I don't know what you mean by that, Leo. I think you were typing and your words kind of got jumbled there for a minute. There's the Rico Zaku. Is that the hobby one? The one with all the screwed up colors? Because that one does not... Okay, we're a guy. Do you know that mean we're... Yeah, the sentence still doesn't make sense with that. So you might want to rephrase it. And I'm not trying to take the piss. I don't know what you mean, because like you kind of got jumbled up there. But yeah, like master grades are my jam, dude. 1/100 grade or 1/100. is what I like. I like the size. I like the shelf presence of a 1/100 kit a lot more than I do anything else. But yeah, those advancive Zeta ones would be really good to do. That sleeves Marasai looks great too. Though I've always found it weird that the sleeves that Xeon had Marasais, but I guess they were given them by Anaheim or something. I don't know. Because the Marasai is a Federation suit. Just the dreaded thing with doing a sleeves Marasai is doing the sleeves. You know that meme from The Office where Michael Scott was trying to solve a conspiracy to solve something? Oh, I don't know if I would compare that when it comes to explaining manga to people. No, that's not what I would think it's like. Like, explaining manga to people is just all I say is they're comic books from Japan that are only done in black and white because it saves time. Whew. Goodness gracious. So freaking hot today, man. But yeah, I've never really had a problem explaining that sort of thing to people. It's not really... not that tough to me. Marasai was a captured unit. Ah, gotcha. That would explain it then. I will freely admit I am not too up to date on my unicorn lore. On that time period of the Universal Century. And I haven't been boning up on it, admittedly, because I am not sure if that one's going to get a deep dive or not. Because I will say this right now. The ones that... The series that I plan on doing the long-ass videos for when it comes to Gundam are the ones that I really enjoy. I'm not going to do them for a Gundam series I don't like that much. Because some people have flat out said, oh, I can't wait till he does a deep dive on Seed. There's never going to be a deep dive on Seed, dude. I'm not watching that again if I don't have to. Because what gets me into the lore of something, like a Mobile Suit Gundam, is the story that is around it. It's not very often that you can get me just on mecha design. Unicorn is actually a really good example of one that does get me mostly on mecha design. As you know, obviously we're painting a kit from Unicorn right now. Unicorn has incredible mecha design. Katoki was like... He was like ascending to a higher plane with his designs in Unicorn. You know? Like, goddamn, dude. Like, he put in some fucking work with Unicorn. Hope there's a Master Grade White Zaku 2 out there. The Shin Matsunaga version, yes. There is a Master Grade of Shin Matsunaga's Zaku 2, Zaku. That's a wild thing about Shin Matsunaga. Even when the Zaku 2 was starting to get outdated, that motherfucker stuck with that mobile suit. Like most of his contemporaries at Solomon were using DOMs or Rick DOMs. Though there were obviously those who used Zaku's as well, but like that dude didn't give a fuck. He's like, look, I got my Hi-Mo Zaku. I'm a happy dude. I'm gonna go whoop some ass. Man alive. Warm in here. But yeah, like I mentioned, no desire whatsoever to do a deep dive on the series I don't like. I don't honestly anticipate that I'll even do one of Gundam X. Even though I like Gundam X. Might do one of Iron Blooded Orphans, though. Because I really like IBO. In fact, IBO, the last Gundam series as of right now, to get a full 50 episodes. First one in a long ass time. Ah. Stardust Memory gets a deep dive because it's part of the Grips War. So the formation of any deep dive for Gundam stuff is going to be discussing how the conflict started. You know, what had led to it. and then the conflict itself, and then the aftermath. So with Grips War, the start of that is Stardust Memory, so we deep dive into that. And it's also Char's Deleted Affair, so we dive into that. And then, after that, the second episode is gonna be the war the war as it begins. So it'll be it'll start with Camille. Will be episode 2 of Grips War, and then episode 3 is the midpoint of the war, around the time that we get the AU actually gets their hands on the Zeta, and then the fourth episode will be the conclusion of the war with the final battle of Grips. So yeah, we'll be talking about Gato, we'll be talking about Ko Uraki, we'll be talking about everything in Stardust Memory. I'm really looking forward to it, because we've got the third episode of Gundam Wing Explained is scripted, and the audio is recorded and edited and already sent to Shirt Dude. Could do a deep dive on G Gundam. There's not really a whole lot of discussion about the technology in G Gundam, so like it wouldn't really hit the same. I just think that what I'm gonna do is, at some point, I'm just going to do a review of G Gundam, but I'm going to take a long-ass time with discussing the ins and outs of the plot, so it would just be like a really long review. That is what I am likely going to do with it. Because I feel like G Gundam kind of gets slept on for how good it is. Like, yeah, it's silly because it's kind of it's basically supposed to be like something out of Shonen Jump, right? You know, it's not like a full-blown war story, but it's got its dark moments, and it's got its really wonderful storytelling bits to it. I also even want to try to get in touch with Dave Petit, who is the guy who voiced Master Asia. I want to get in touch with him and talk to him about the process of doing G Gundam and, you know, memories from it and things along those lines. Because I really love his portrayal of Master Asia. Because one thing that I'll say about G Gundam is that it doesn't really present itself as serious, but it can have its serious moments, and when it has them, they're very good. The Battle of Lantau Island, specifically, is great. One of my favorite parts of the show. Like, the whole Shinku Love Hadoken is goofy as fuck, but everything leading up to it, there's some genuine emotion there. Hey, 80 Forever. I'm alright. It's very warm today. Let's see here. When people say anime can be weird, is it because of differences of culture or a sense of humor? Well, I do think some people are joking about it, but there is definitely a substantial cultural difference. There are some things that Japan seems to be a little bit more comfortable with than I think a lot of people in the West are. And it's something like you just kind of have to shrug your shoulders and go, well, that's Japan for you. Like, one thing is like, one thing I had planned on doing is, because I heard that somebody who was like an assistant to the guy who did Chainsaw Man had his own manga called Dandadan. I'm like, alright, well, this is interesting. And it's about ghosts and aliens. I'm like, oh, that's wild. And the art style looked interesting. So I'm like, alright, I'm going to give this a shot. And I read it, and there was a lot of, like, underage teenagers in their underwear. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable. Like, I don't know why you're okay with this. Why are we putting teenagers in effectively sexual situations? It's a little weird. But then again, Gantz did the same thing, so... The thing is, that's not what Gantz was about. But it's just one of those things where it's like... It personally makes me uncomfortable, you know? But it is something that that there's a good amount of Japanese media that does that. But then again, some elements of it are cultural. Generally speaking, some people in Japan have very different senses of humor than what we Americans do. And I'm not the type of person to say, like, oh, you know, nobody ever watch or read this, but what I am going to say is I'm just going to express why I'm not comfortable and why I'm bowing out. And if people disagree with me or they agree with me, that's on them, you know, and whichever way is fine. But yeah, it's just a cultural thing, you know. But but yeah, it's just one of those things where it just depends on how it's presented as well. Like with the whole Dan to Dan thing, it was clearly being done for fan service. Which I'm not against women being sexy. It's just like these characters in particular they're still kids, you know. And that I find very uncomfortable. And hey, Mouse, how's it going on, dude? But admittedly, also, like, the one thing that I've told people before, when just in regards to me, is like a lot of what the Japanese stuff media that I imbibe, a lot of it is seinen. There's not a lot of like shonen stuff that I take in, you know, because it's just not my jam. It's not what I'm looking for. Like before, we started the stream up, I actually because we're doing it for On the Grind, I actually sat down and watched Perfect Blue with Serena, and that sort of stuff is more my speed, you know. It's a much more mature story. It's for an older audience. You know, Berserk is obviously another really good example of something that's more my speed. Devilman. You know, it's just my cup of tea. I'm a big horror fan. I'm a big fan of science fiction. Things along those lines. How did that go? On the Grind has been going pretty well so far. I would like for us to I'm hoping to increase the size of our audience as time goes on, but you know, in regards to like the recording of the podcasts and you know how they're coming out as the end product, I couldn't be happier. Now it's just about growing it, you know. Checking something real quick. Come back. Okay. I don't think it's gonna matter. Whew. Man. Problem is with shonen, it's because it's so mainstream. Not many shonen are taking risks or adding something new in the table of Magi or Hunter x Hunter. That's an interesting. It's an interesting thought. I don't know why you redacted that, Leo. I don't disagree. I think that is something that is definitely true of shonen. Is that it's very safe. You know, seinen series tend to take more risks, tend to be a bit more creative, in my opinion. I remember somebody asked me once why I would rather read, or why I would read something like Berserk over something like Conan the Barbarian or another fantasy story that's out there. And I said, because I have never read a fantasy that is as vibrant or as unique as Berserk is. Now, there might be those out there that are just as vibrant and just as unique, but I have not encountered them yet. Berserk, you know, has uniqueness and vibrancy in spades. And it's not, I'm not passing judgment on other people who read different types of fantasy. It's just Berserk scratches that itch for me. I would rather read Berserk than Dragon Ball. Would be another example. Like, Dragon Ball's not a fantasy, but you know, it's a good example of, you know, a popular story out there that's a shonen. Like, I would much rather read that. Because I want to take in something that is going to push my boundaries a little bit more. It's going to make me think a little bit. You know, and that's why I'm a big Gundam fan. I feel like Gundam at its best is when it's a seinen. The original Gundam is a seinen. Gundam, Zeta Gundam is a seinen, Double Zeta is a seinen. You know, those are all very mature shows. Whereas something like Seed is meant for a teenage audience, specifically teenage girls. So, not my thing. Ever read Dorohedoro? I have watched the first season of the anime and that's it. And I plan on reading it at some point. I am told that, and then the author of that also created another manga called Die Dark that I've heard is pretty good. But if there's one thing that's definitely true about Dorohedoro, the opening of the anime makes me want to eat some pot stickers. Ah! Hey, Serena. Alright. So there's that hip armor. There's so many verniers on this fucking suit, man. We'll have to count them all whenever, like verniers and thrusters and stuff like that. Because here's a vernier. There's 2 each on the hip armor. Then these small vents here, I'm going to move a couple things out of the way. These small vents here can vent gas and heat to actually move the suit in 0G. Yeah, she's looking really good, man. I am pretty stoked. Now you can get like a really good close-up of the head. The one thing I do really appreciate that I think is kind of cool about this suit is it's the most Xeon thing ever, right? To the point where it even looks like the suit is wearing a Xeon uniform. And also, the more I look at this here, the more it needs to be touched up. So I will be touching that up with a Gundam marker later. Probably after the stream is over. Gosh. So the next thing we have to do is one of the monotonous bits. So I will be yapping a lot. The Yapple Pie Indian strap match, brother. I can't do a Hulk Hogan impersonation. Funnily enough, I've never actually watched that match now that I think about it. Because it's just a strap match between Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. From back in the days of WCW before Hogan turned heel. Oh, WCW. Yeah. Kind of ages me a bit, doesn't it? That's one thing that's always interesting with wrestling. It's going to get weirder and weirder as I get older. And I'm going to tell people, so, Mr. Curtis, you like wrestling? Love wrestling. What did you watch when I was a kid? When you were a kid? WCW. You're that old? That's what it's going to be like. I'll tell you one thing, man. It was a fucking trip for, like, that first Monday where there was no Monday Nitro for me to flip back and forward to. Granted, I didn't watch a whole lot of Monday Nitro at the end because it was so bad. Alright, let's get to painting. This shouldn't take us too long. Born the same year Castlevania, Metroid, and other games came out, 1986. Yep, I was a year before that. 1985. I was a month old when I watched the Bears win the Super Bowl for the very first time. And probably for the last time, sadly. Oh, hold up. Hold up. Can't paint yet. Can't do it. Just noticed a problem. Yeah. It'll focus. There's a nub there. I'm going to have to file that off. But all we got to do, take our file, our glass file, take our part, you can't really see what I'm doing. Just gently rub it. And now, somebody's asked me about this quite a few times. It'll focus. No nub mark. Pretty great, huh? Let me show you again. Because the other one has a nub mark. So you can see that nub mark there, it's a little pronounced. Just take it to the glass file. So a little bit of pressure. Rub, 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 rub. There's a little bit left over, just a little bit of stress on the plastic, but after the primer, you won't even notice that it's there. That is why I recommend glass files for Gunpla. All right, let's do this. Now you can see with the primer on it, you'd never know that there was a nub mark there. Pretty wild, huh? I fucking love the Razer glass files. They're so good. Give this a second to dry. Hey, brain. What is up, dude? Oh, I'm suffering with this heat. How long have we been going? Over an hour already? Gosh. Must have been yapping more than I realized. But yapping is part of the job. It is what I do. What's worse, Unidad crashing party or the writing for the game they're in? You know, honestly, I think as we've been playing back through Wildlands, I think that the thing that bothers me the most is the kind of bullshit of the game, as opposed to as opposed to the writing. The writing is just kind of funny, though. I still love that line. More popular than a JV cheerleader on the pill. I thought that was brilliant. But yeah, Breakpoint overall is the better game. Which is so funny to me because it was so inundated with live service bullshit on release that it got universally hated by gamers. And in reality, it's surprisingly so much more competent as a video game. Though it was kind of funny when we just went and killed John Bernthal, in the first hour of playing it. I just thought that was hilarious that that they actually allow you to do that. But I will say, I very much enjoy the format of these open world Ghost Recon games. Hey, Kyrie, what's up, man? But they just remind me a lot of how Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5 played. Because say what you will about Metal Gear Solid 4, I really like Metal Gear Solid 4, but it definitely has its has things you can criticize about it. I love how it played. So having games with that similar style definitely vibes with me on a lot of levels. What's the worst thing gaming companies can do outside of microtransactions or unfinished games? IP squatting. IP squatting to me is one of the most frustrating things, just in general. Like, one thing that I always found very frustrating was, like, one of my first videos on YouTube was me bitching about why LucasArts was just sitting on the Knights of the Old Republic IP, and they weren't working on a third game. Because one thing that I will say is that one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand, at least that I've noticed in the arts, is a lot of people tend to say, oh, there'll be plenty of time to do more of that later. How the fuck do you know? I bet Kentaro Miura thought he had more time to do Berserk. Dead. If it wasn't for Koji Mori, there'd be no more Berserk. It'd be over. If you got a good thing going, don't just stop. It is a very foolish thing to do. Yeah, LucasArts does not exist now. Disney just contracts out developers to make Star Wars games. Yeah, originally, though, LucasArts, they were doing other stuff instead of it, and it was always puzzling to me. But yeah, my whole thing is like, if you're... The only reason you should ever close off a franchise is if you've given the audience a proper conclusion. That's it. You know? That's when you put it to bed. Yeah, the Old Republic, oddly enough, as far as MMOs go, I had a lot of fun playing the Old Republic. And I did the whole MMO experience. I was part of a clan. I did raids and all that stuff. Like, I was in it. I enjoyed it. But looking back on it, I would have much rather had a single player experience. Because that game had to be a massive investment for EA. Had to have been. Because there are so many lines of dialogue and so many characters and so many missions. Like, god damn. There's so much to it. And a lot of the stories in KOTOR are good. Or in the Old Republic are good. But the problem is that you don't necessarily want to, you know, get into a fucking MMO to experience them. You know? I'm kind of the opinion that the next thing I would like to see is, I think that Disney, honestly, if we're going to do a KOTOR remake at any point, which I'm assuming they still want to do at some point, is I would contact Larian Studios and have them do it. They already resurrected one franchise that... Oh! Brain says, throws in $10, thank you. He says, I disagree. At this point, Given the third alternative is selling to Tencent, like what happened to System Shock and Delta Force, squatting is no longer the worst, but still bad though. Well, yeah, I think that, I think it's a context thing. Because yeah, I definitely don't want more games to be sold to Tencent. That goes without saying. You don't think Larian could do a KOTOR game? I think they could. Baldur's Gate 3 is not Baldur's Gate. I didn't really feel like Baldur's Gate 3 was that different from the originals in the sense that it's definitely updated in regards to how the game plays, but it's been over 20 years since the last Baldur's Gate. You know, there's been a lot of things that in game development that have happened that have improved video games in general, you know? And the one thing that I have an issue with in Baldur's Gate 3 in comparison to the previous titles is just the party size. I always liked having the big parties that you have like in the original Baldur's Gate game. So that's why I mod my copy of it to have 8-person parties. Which can be a little overpowering, but I just turn the difficulty up. Even if it's not, the question is whether or not it does what Baldur's Gate tries to do better than previous iterations. I think it's just as good, honestly. Now, I don't have as many memories of Baldur's Gate 2 as I do the original. The original I played through multiple times. The original, I don't think I ever finished 2. But Baldur's Gate was always a Dungeons & Dragons or an AD&D. It was a dark fantasy story with a sense of humor. You know? I have to go grab my phone real quick. My alarm is blaring. Hold on a second. I will read the super chats when I'm back. I'll be right back. Sorry. Okay. Gunny said, Baldur's Gate 3 is a near-perfect video game version of 5th edition. I don't see how it's not like D&D. You know, I think that I'm kind of somewhere close to where Gunny's at. Like, for me, playing the game of Baldur's Gate 3 really did feel like playing a D&D session with a DM that hated my fucking guts. And it had a lot of mechanics to it that I really liked. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect. Just so I'm saying. If I did say it was perfect, I shouldn't have. But it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. And a lot of the mechanics of it, I thought, gave it a lot of great depth in combat that lent itself to creativity. And I think that especially in an RPG, that is something that I like to see a lot of. Because if there's like one criticism I've had of a lot of RPGs, especially like, let's take Final Fantasy VII Remake, for example. FF7 Remake, like, it is a good idea to think while you're playing it, but you can kind of shut your brain off. Baldur's Gate, if you shut your brain off, you can get fucked up pretty bad. You know? So yeah, I thought it was a really fun video game. I thought it had a fun story. Had a lot of fun characters. And the other great thing about it is the cooperative. Like, cooperative can be very satisfying, especially when everybody is on the same page on a tactical level. God damn, man. Because Brain and I have actually played through the entire game together cooperative. And we had a lot of fun with it. Okay, so what we gotta do now is gonna be kind of tricky. Really, Ginger, I don't agree with that at all, man. I liked a lot of the characters in it. The only character that I found a little dull was Will. Will, to me, was a little... kind of a Nancy boy. You know? Little too goody two-shoes, I guess, for my liking. But I liked Karlach a lot. I thought Lae'zel in some ways could, really stole the show in a lot of moments. She was a lot of fun. So the last I was playing through the game, I was playing as a warlock who serves the Great Old Ones named Howard Phillips. Will Gale Lae'zel wanted her to shut. Really, man, I am very much the opposite. But everybody's got different tastes. I'm not going to shame you for it. this a little differently. No worries, anime guy. This way you guys can see what I'm doing. Pull that back a bit. So I've got the springs right here jutting out, and I'm just dropping these on here. What a Nancy boy is? A pussy. A pansy. The type of character that Paul Dano plays in like every movie he's in. But, yeah, another thing that I also enjoyed about Baldur's Gate is just the co-op element of it. I think that's a big part. At some point, I really wish I could go through it with 4 people. Hey, enemy guy. He throws in a super chat, but the alert didn't go off. He says, if you could have a mobile suit as power armor, what would it be? My Sinanju. The one behind me. The speed and mobility of that suit is very hard to match. Unless you got the unicorn. And the big thing about the Sinanju Stein is it's got that dope-ass fucking rifle. Okay, now I'm gonna try to cap this on here. Did it stay? It did. Okay, cool. Do the same for this one. Okay, now with that done, there's a small slot right here in the front of the skirt armor. I'm going to have to pull this off to get it to attach. The fuck? Why are you not going to your home? I think that got it. Ha! One down. Thumbs up. See? Making progress. There we go. Looks pretty good. Like I said, I gotta touch up like this chest piece a little bit, but looks pretty good. I'm gonna do a thing real quick though. I present to you the Buddy Sinanju. I put him in the Buddy Christ pose. This is what I mean about the posability of master grades. Man alive. 420 got it with $10. Jesus. Something's going wrong with my alerts. I'm going to have to fix that before we call it. Because we are going to go ahead and call it. It is it's almost time for me to record the podcast. But while we do that, let me bring this over here. Swerve that around that way. Just to give you an idea, again, of how big this mobile suit is, this is a 40-ounce bottle of water. Look how big that thing is. And then next to a tall geese. Put trays literally right next to him. Not leaving yet, Leo. We're wrapping up, but we're not. I'm not done yet. Because I want to see what's going on with my alerts here. Why they're not working. Okay, so let me try something now. Let me try to replay that one from Gunny, which he said, currently playing the playthrough 1 of 6 Mass Effect Trilogy for Commander Shepard Challenge. So far early in 2 with my Sentinel. Love Prime Radiancy, favorite AI President's channel. The fuck, why is it not replaying it? Will it replay Anime Guys? No, it won't replay that one. What about this one? That one it'll replay. What the fuck? So yes, I have read everybody's now. I'm all caught up. I apologize for that. I don't know what's going on. So yes, I'm up to date. So thank you again to Gunny, to Anime Guy, and Brain for the super chats today. I am sorry that we are cutting it so short this today, but we will be back on Tuesday. Tuesday we will properly paint the backpack and put it on, and then the last stream we do will be the weapons. So we are almost done. 2 more streams, and we are completely finished with the Sinanju. Yes, this tall geese here is a master grade. Both of them are. Just to give you an idea, the Sinanju in Gundam is let me look up both of them real quick. So the Tall Geese 2 in Gundam Wing is 17.4 meters tall. The Sinanju is 22.6 meters. So it's about 5 meters. It's 5 meters taller, so about 15 feet taller as a mobile suit than the Tall Geese is. The Sinanju is massive. It's not as big as the Sazabi, but the Sazabi is a chunker. You know, it's wide. The Sinanju is tall. It's very reminiscent of the new Gundam. Yeah, and I've showed the Nightingale box. Like, that thing is... The Nightingale is going to be really big. I'm going to have to buy a stand for the Nightingale. Because it's like... It's very, very, very large. I still don't know where I'm going to put it, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So, thank you all for stopping by today, to say the least. Had a good amount of people here today, too. Tall Geese versus Sinanju, who wins? That's the funny thing. I would give it to the Tall Geese. The Tall Geese is actually faster. And, it actually has more firepower as well. So. Alright. I'm going to take off, guys. It is warm in here, and I've got a podcast to record. So, Tuesday, about 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be resuming with more of this. And then from there, we will hopefully get this thing finished pretty quick. So, on that note, everybody have yourselves a good rest of your weekend. I will see you back on Tuesday.